Hi there, how's it going? Today's video I am going to talk all about birth and namely how to eliminate any fears that you might have around birth. Especially if you're a first time mom to be. It's normal to have fears around birth because it's the unknown and it's not something that we are exposed to at all, during our lives. I think there's something really important about fear and birth, and that is that if you are fearful, the hormone adrenaline will rise in your body, and for birth that is not a good thing because it inhibits the production of a hormone called oxytocin, and oxytocin is what helps your baby to be born, so you don't want that to be inhibited. So the aim of this video is to share 10 different tips or tools of ways of overcoming your fears that have worked for me and some that have worked for people that I've supported along the way in my role as a pregnancy yoga teacher and as an active birth workshop facilitator. I think it's really important to know that birth is normal, it's safe, it can be an amazing experience. I think that the more prepared you are, the better, and the more tools that you have at your disposal in that preparation and during the birth, then the more enjoyable it can be, and it can be enjoyable. And I know because it has been for me, and I've been really grateful to have had those experiences because I know that not everybody does. But I definitely think that if you're pregnant at the moment, that this video could really help you. So number one, knowledge. You need to read and learn about birth. What is normal? What are the stages? Learn about the hormones and everything that is involved in the whole birth process, because knowledge is power. Once you know that, it takes the unknown out of it, and it's really the unknown that we fear, when it comes to so many different aspects of life. And that knowing really brings kind of empowerment to the mother-to-be and to the couple as well, preparing for birth. Some books that I would recommend are Ina May Gaskin, any of her books. Ina May's Guide to Childbirth is a good one to start with, just to get a kind of an idea of all the different, the different stages and what happens and what's normal. Because a lot of what happens in hospitals nowadays is not a normal part of birth. They're births with medical interventions. So I think it's good to know about those interventions, but also to know what is a normal birth. And Ina May is great for that. Another book I would recommend is Grantley Dick Reed's Childbirth Without Fear, written quite a long time ago, but it's really great at explaining the different hormones at play and how they work and how to work to their advantage. Another book I would recommend is called Active Birth by Janet Velasquez. She's an amazing yoga teacher based in London, and I have a whole vlog on active birth if you'd like to have a look at it. I'll be talking about that again now very soon, but her book is great because it is all about showing different positions and ways to give birth and what it looks like and why you should try to use those different positions and how they help to make birthing easier. Number two, do not watch television or movies about birth. I repeat, do not watch birth on television or any movies about birth, because they're not real. They are overly dramatized and ridiculous, a lot of them, because the fact is that birth, especially if it's your first birth, can be quite boring, and let's face it, like, not a lot of people want to watch things that are boring, so they make it completely unrealistic. It's not the whole screaming and emergency ward kind of crap that you see on television. That's not real. Number three, use affirmations. So this is something that we do in yoga anyway. It's called Sankalpa, and an affirmation is something that you repeat to yourself so that you begin to slowly believe it. For example, I am amazing. The affirmations that you use have to really resonate with you. So for birth, you might have something really simple like, I am strong, I am confident. Like, I know people that have just used one word affirmations because they've been too busy doing other things during birth. Your body is very busy, and they've just repeated to themselves the word breathe or slow down Or, there are so many different affirmations that you can use, and there are a lot of resources out there that you can copy, record yourself saying, write down in little post-its around your house, email to yourself. There's lots of different ways, but it should be a daily practice that you repeat these things to yourself so that you believe. It's like you're brainwashing yourself, but in a really good way, to believe these affirmations, and they can really help during the birth process, because it's like you're repeating something positive to yourself, and it really makes a difference. It really, like, this is something you could do with your life in general as well, but for birth you can have very specific affirmations geared towards you. And if there is something in particular that you're fearful of, you can write or create an affirmation to counter that fear, so that you build up the confidence to, kick that fear out of the way and, not be affected by it. So step number 3 is to create and repeat these affirmations to yourself on a daily basis until you come into a state of mind where you believe them and they can be really empowering for you. Number 4 is to create a birth toolkit. Now, this can be things that are physical, like your birth ball, your yoga mat, your TENS machine, things like that, that will physically help you, or using water to, all kind of, I suppose, natural pain relief for birth. And then it can also be things like your breathing exercises, your affirmations. I personally have a whole list of, different resources that I can kind of look to during birth, and they have really helped me in my births, and they've also helped people that I've supported, because I suppose you don't know what you're going to really enjoy at different moments of the labor, different stages. So it's good to have lots of different options, and you just pick and choose. Like for me, I didn't enjoy being on the birth ball during labor. I preferred to just sit on the mat. Somebody else might love the ball. It just depends on the person and the stage of labor that you're at. So having a birth toolkit can be a really, really good resource. Write it out yourself, all the different things that you have, and you can start it during your pregnancy and keep adding to it. The more techniques that you learn, the more different things that you might think, oh, well, what about if I use this play set that I really like, all this music that puts me in a great mood, that's going on my birth toolkit list, just for example. Number 5 is breathing. Okay, I've talked about this on your birth toolkit, but this is just a tool unto itself, because your breathing can change so much about your state of being. If you think about how much oxygen is being brought into your body, and depending on how deep your breathing is, it can just change everything about how you feel and how you are. So the same is true for during birth, but probably even more so, because your uterus needs a lot of energy to make those contractions, happen. And the more you can concentrate on your breath, as well as it getting you in the zone and staying in the present moment and not allowing those silly little thoughts and fears to come into your head, then the more focused you are and the more effective your contractions will be, and the easier your birth will be. So it can have a huge impact on your birth. So practicing different breathing techniques during pregnancy, so that during labor then they come to you very easily, is just a fantastic way to, be in the moment, to not allow any fears to kind of come into your head while you're in labor. And this is true of any moment in your life that is challenging, not just labor and birth, because trust me, motherhood will be challenging too. So these breathing techniques can be really useful for motherhood also. Number 6 is to use active birth. I've spoken a little bit about this already when I talked about the book, and I've done a full vlog on different positions that I would recommend for birth, and so I'd advise you just to have a look at that, and to understand how important gravity is when it comes to birthing your baby. Lying on your back is the worst position to be in when you're giving birth, unless you have had an epidural or are having a C-section, because then it won't make a difference. But if you are giving birth without those medical interventions, then being in upright positions where gravity can aid the passage of your baby down and out, then that is what you're aiming for. So check out the vlog on active birth and practice it during your pregnancy so that during birth and labor, those positions just come back to you easily. My tip number 7 for eliminating fears for birth is be aware of your setting and your surroundings. So if you're still at home, which is where you would aim to be laboring for as long as possible, you are going to be interested in creating a setting or like a space that feels safe and comfortable and that doesn't have too many bright lights or loud music or things that will distract you from being in your zone, in your laboring zone. This also has to do with hormones, because if you think about all the different things that you like for a good night's sleep, it might be dark or dim, it might be quiet, comfortable, warm, safe, secure, like knowing your doors are locked. All those same things is exactly what you need to create a nice setting for birth. So that can really have an impact on your mood and how you're feeling, because you're hypersensitive at that time, and it's a nice thing to think about beforehand, to have maybe some candles, to have some nice music, dim lights, and a comforting kind of a cocoon for yourself for that birth. Tip number 8 is to get to know your pelvic floor. This is a vital part of your anatomy that will really help you during birth because it stretches and kind of just allows the birth of your baby. So what I would recommend is your pelvic floor exercises, perineal massage, which gets you kind of aware of what muscles will be stretching during the crowning part of birth. And if you're interested, you could also get a device called an Epino, which helps with the pelvic floor exercises and with the stretching of the perineum, so that you have an idea of what it's going to feel like. And I think especially for a first-time mom, that can be really empowering to be aware of those sensations before you birth your baby. So I'll put the link for that in the comments below. And I just feel like being aware and getting to know your pelvic floor can really help to know how much you're going to expand and how your baby is going to come out. Tip number 9 is to use sound. Your voice can be a huge release and tool for you during your labor. There is a huge difference, however, between a scream and kind of a moan. A scream is usually like a fearful kind of a sound, whereas a low kind of a guttural, vocal, moany kind of a sound is not fearful sound, but it's a release. And that's what we're aiming for during labor and birth. Different sounds that we can use, like ways to kind of release, the energy, and also to keep the jaw nice and loose, because having a loose jaw is directly related to having a loose sphincter and to allowing the pelvic floor to open, release, and help to birth your baby. So different sounds, like even the from yoga, even a hum or a deep sigh or a kind of a ah or a ah or a any of those kind of low toned sounds can really help to release tensions and fears as well. Also, you can do a horse breath, which is just like this. And something that makes you laugh, like, sometimes in my pregnancy yoga classes, they might think I'm nuts, but we do like a wah, wah, wah in the middle of like doing a different a position or a dynamic movement. And it gets people laughing. And what does laughing do? Helps to release the pelvic floor, relax the sphincters, and all of those sounds, help with birth, and they release, there's no space for fear when you're in the middle of an so using sound is, I would highly recommend, and it's something you can practice as well during pregnancy. People might think you're off your rocker, but who cares what people think? You are going to have an amazing birth. Finally, tip number 10 is to have a mother blessing. Look it up and find out what it's like. I had one for my second baby just before he was born, and I'm planning another one soon, and it is the most amazing experience. It's like having a big hug from all your closest female friends and family members. It is an amazing thing to do, and I would highly recommend it. I just think it's like bringing all the support that you have around you and creating a circle of support, of friendship, and those people are going to be with you then. It's like you can feel their presence during the birth. So I might do a vlog on that as well, about more kind of ideas of what you could do and how you could organize one. But it's something that I really feel can bring specialness and a sacredness to your birth, and there's a crazy amount of power in a circle of women who are supporting each other, and that's what a mother blessing is about. It's like a baby shower for the mother, and where she is showered with blessings and words of support and gifts, or symbols of motherhood and of support and of love, and that can just only be good. We need more of that in our lives, and I think motherhood is such a rite of passage that having a symbolic meetup like that can be really powerful for a woman, and it's something that I would definitely recommend. So there you have my 10 tips on how to eliminate fear of birth, and I really hope that you might look into some of them, and you can ask me questions that you might have on it. But it's something that I'm really passionate about. I believe that by eliminating those fears and using some of these tools, whichever ones appeal to you, that we can, bring birth back into a space where it's sacred and enjoyable and beautiful, because we are strong birthing women. In a couple of months, I just can't wait to get the opportunity to have another birth where I am in full control and can fully enjoy that moment, because these are the moments that we will never forget for the rest of our lives, and let's make it a good one.